Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of IndyCar on polling day, the 23rd of May 2019. So, a historic moment, is it not? Well, I think it is, and I think most people now believe that the whole British political system is entirely mangled and broken, and nothing really is going to be able to fix it. A number of people have asked me questions about why or what sort of policies other parties have, but I think actually the policies are largely irrelevant now. This isn't a fight over policy, it's not even a fight over ideology anymore. This is a straight fight between Scotland and England, really. It is a battle of national importance to both sides. England wants, or appears to want, to leave the European Union, and that's fine. They can leave the European Union. Scotland doesn't want to leave the European Union and isn't going to allow itself to be dragged out by England. I mean, that much has been obvious for the last 3 years at least. Ruth Davidson, people have criticised her for not having a policy, but actually you can't really criticise Ruth Davidson for not having a policy, because her only policy is for the survival of the Conservative Party in England, because without it she has nothing. That's why there are no policies for Scottish Conservatives. They don't need any. They never did, and they never actually wanted any policies. The only policies that Scottish Tories have are exactly the same ones that Theresa May, Boris Johnson, Jacob Rees-Mogg and all the rest of them in London have. So Ruth is not interested in making policies for Scotland. It's not her point. That's not why she exists. She exists as a gatekeeper to prevent independence. She is the last guardian of the border between Scotland and England. And so Ruth, when she puts leaflets through your door, her leaflets say vote for the Ruth Davidson party. They don't even say vote Conservative anymore virtually. It's all to do with Ruth Davidson and Nicola Sturgeon. It's all personality politics. Basically, Ruth Davidson is the anti-Nicola party. It's the anti-independence party, and that is the only policy that the Conservatives have in Scotland. They don't need another policy because they don't want another policy. Their policy is stop independence at any cost. The Labour Party in Scotland is largely rudderless, and I think, to be fair, Richard Leonard is really just the autopilot for Labour Party, which is actually already sinking anyway, and is pretty much gone under. It really doesn't have any great presence left in Scottish politics, and I think after today, in fact after the weekend is done, we'll probably see the end of both Labour and Conservative, and maybe even Liberal Democrats. We don't know really what the Liberal Democrats will do, but certainly the end of the two major UK parties in this particular election for European seats. I think it's going to be a whitewash, because I can't see them winning any seats at all with the levels of support that they now have. The Tories, last time I looked, were polling at something like 10%. The Greens were ahead of them by 1 point, and the Labour Party wasn't much better. I think they were on 12% the last time I looked at the polls. So it is a straight fight. It's a fight between those who want independence and a green future and those who want to be dependent on a failing London system, with a failed economy, with a failed policy of shutting the doors to European trade. It's crazy. At the time when England should be throwing its doors open and encouraging trade with Europe, they're closing them. And they're closing them for no really good reason other than a bunch of racists who don't like brown people, because that's what it amounts to. People are scared of so-called migrants. Migrants? I mean, what was a migrant? A migrant isn't anything. I mean, birds migrate from one country to another. It doesn't make them invading armies, does it? I mean, people who come to Europe from outside don't get to England, they don't get to Scotland, or very rarely do. In fact, if they do, very tiny numbers of them ever get here, because they're asylum seekers. And asylum seekers get asylum in the countries where they arrive. And the countries where they arrive are in Europe, not here. So the only people that we're actually shutting out are those that we actually need, like nurses, and doctors, and physiotherapists, and engineers, and scientists, and lecturers, and all the basic... not the basic, it was all the really well-educated, highly trained people that we actually need can't get in. And then at the other end of the scale, we have all the people that we need to help us get our harvests in. the ones who come over every year, regular as clockwork, to do a job that, let's face it, Scottish and British people are too proud to get their hands dirty doing, and that is picking fruit and vegetables. But somebody has to do that. There aren't robots out there that can pick a strawberry, for example. We need people. So this election, this European election, people say, why is it important if we're going to be Brexiting anyway? The answer is, we're not going to be Brexiting. Scotland is never going to allow itself to be Brexited. It's not going to happen to you. You're going to need these MEPs. Who else is going to fight your corner at the European Union while Scotland votes to leave the UK? You need your representatives in the European Parliament to speak for you. And the more of them you have, the better the chances are that you're going to get a really good deal when we are re-accepted back into the EU with a wave of the hand, because that is all it will take. We're already European citizens. Scotland's already a fully European integrated country. It has nothing to do to queue up with anybody else because we are already in the EU. We already qualify for everything that the EU has. We already contribute to it. There is no need for Scotland to rejoin the European Union, and everybody in the European Union knows that. The only people that are lying to you are the Tories who say that if you leave the UK, you'd have to reapply to be in the European Union. Well, okay, you bring a document out, you say, I'm reapplying, let me back in. The Europeans say, well, you're already a member, that's fine. We'll commute you, and all we'll do is we'll just redo the terms. How much Scotland will pay into the EU budget would be recalculated based on the population size. And that's really all that needs to be done. Okay, so that's the reality of the European Union. So what are we voting for? Well, we're voting for 6 MEPs, right? We only get 6 because we're part of the EU. They're elected not based on the number of votes cast in Scotland, but the number of votes cast across the entire UK. So we will be forced at some stage, probably, to accept maybe, and I'm hoping it doesn't happen, a Brexiteer somewhere in this group of Scottish MEPs. I don't know who it will be. I don't know what the party will be, whether it's UKIP or Brexit, but probably somebody from either UKIP or Brexit will snaffle a seat because of the way the voting system works. So we need to win at least 3 seats for the SNP, and hopefully at least 1 other seat for the Greens, but possibly more than that. It would be good if we could get 3 SNP, 2 Greens, and have only 1 pro-Brexit party if we're forced to accept it because of the proportional voting system. Now that would show the Europeans that Scotland is in a majority, a big majority, for not only independence but for staying in the European Union, for a green future, because the Green Party I hope will do well as well, and a future which does not involve shutting ourselves away from the European Union at all, but in fact opens our doors more to the European Union so that we can trade more. A lot of our whisky goes to the European Union, at least 40% of it. In fact, about 40% of everything that Scotland exports goes to the European Union. A lot of it is food, and a lot of it is very high quality food that we're extremely good at producing. These votes that you're making today are about that. They're about people to represent you. If you're a fisherman, for example, you might have been voting for the Conservatives before because you thought that Brexit would give you back your fishing rights. In actual fact, your fishing rights have been traded away to try and get this deal. If we become independent and we renegotiate our entry into Europe as a separate Scotland, we can do a different deal for our fishermen, and we can increase the quotas. We will need to share our waters with European Union boats, but we can renegotiate that to our advantage for a change without any interference from down south. There is more control over things like aerospace. We will be able to develop our own space program. We will be able to build our own spaceports. We'll be able to develop our own launch systems. We'll be able to launch the 300 satellites that are being manufactured in Scotland that are queued up for launch at the moment. All of these things will be possible if we vote today in mass to show the European Union that we disagree completely with England, that Scotland has no intentions of leaving the European Union, and we are going to vote for independence before Brexit happens. These are the things that we have to convince the European Union about, and the best way to do that is to elect an SNP MEP today. If you go to vote today, do not vote for 2 candidates. It's illegal. You cannot do it. You get one single vote, and you put it in the box with the SNP slogan on it. You put a big black bold cross on that, fold it up, put it in the box. That's all you need to do. Nothing else matters. Don't make a second vote. Don't waste your vote on any other parties. I've said to people before, if you really can't stand the SNP and you can't bring it yourself to vote for them, but you don't want Brexit, then vote for the Greens, because at least then we've got a chance of getting another pro-independence, pro-green future party in there instead of the Brexiteers. And that's my advice, okay? My personal advice. I don't represent any particular party, but this is my own opinion based on the facts. And the facts are that we are standing at the first stage of a threshold. The first stage is for us to make sure that we vote at least 50% of the MEPs must be pro-independence, at least that number, because we have to demonstrate that we are a country that is pro-European. I would love to see 4 seats go to SNP and Greens in any combination. I don't really care. It's possible the Lib Dems might win a seat because they are anti-Brexit, but they are not, repeat, not pro-independence. Okay, so you cast your vote today, and then we wait. We have to wait until Sunday for the count, because Britain has a stupid system where everybody votes on a Thursday. We are the only country in the world that votes on a weekday. Everybody else has their elections on a Saturday when people can actually get to the polling stations. So we have to wait, because the rest of Europe, and that's 27 other countries, remember, will count their votes on Sunday, and so will we. So our ballot boxes will have to go into secure storage somewhere until Sunday's count. I will be hosting, I believe tonight, I'll be hosting Scotland at 7 on YouTube and on live stream for Broadcasting Scotland. We'll be doing a little election special. Don't know quite what the format will be. I hope we have a guest tonight to interview. I should be on the air from 7 until about 8 o'clock. We'll see what comes up tonight, but it's important. As I say, this is the first step across the threshold. If we demonstrate to Europe today that we have a majority in favour of staying in Europe and that we are committing Scotland to being a European country, they are going to be smiling upon us when we vote for independence and we chap on the door to the European Union and say, we're already members, here's our credentials, you know us, let us back in and we'll renegotiate the deal for ourselves, because we are now separated from Brexit land. Brexit land can do what it wants. We are going to be joining you and joining the Republic of Ireland in this huge family of 27 countries who trade with each other, and where people can travel freely without let or hindrance, and without taxes, without tariffs, without visas, and all of the inconvenience and cost associated with isolationism. Frankly, it's really a choice between being a European or being an American slave state, because that is what is at stake here. Britain is aligning itself with America and, believe it or not, Israel. So if you want a future where your main allies are America and Israel only, and you have no friends in the European Union, then go right ahead and vote Tory or vote Brexit. But frankly, for my money, I would rather be a part of the European Union, and if the European Union is trying to start an army to protect itself, then well and good, because I want to feel secure, and I definitely don't feel secure being protected by the British government at the moment with their nuclear weapons 24 miles that way from me at the moment, all 240 warheads that are 8 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. I want them gone. I would rather be protected by a Europe with conventional weapons, and I would rather be doing business with Europeans than Donald Trump. Anyway, I've got to go, but having made my tuppence worth known today, I hope you'll get down to the polling booths and polling stations, and if anybody you know is swithering about who to vote for and they don't know how to cast a vote, then just say vote for the SNP, because at the very least the SNP will protect your pensions, they will protect your savings, they'll protect your Europeanness, your European passport. You'll be able to travel to see relatives who live abroad. All of those things will remain. You will have your own Scottish pound. You won't have to rely on a weak English pound, which is going to plummet after Brexit, and you won't have to worry about your health service being taken over by American multinational health insurance companies. Everything that we have at the moment can only be saved if we separate ourselves from Brexit land. It's no longer England, it's now Brexit land, because that much is certain. They're going to Brexit. Boris Johnson is going to be the next Prime Minister. If not, it will be Jacob Rees-Mogg or Dominic Raab. But somebody from the Brexiteers is going to run England and going to try and drag Scotland out of the European Union. We have to resist it at every possible moment, and this is the first moment. The second one will come when we have our independence vote, whatever form that takes. It might be a general election for all we know, but we need to get ready now. This is the first shot across the bows of Brexit land, and we need to fire it today. See you later. Bye bye.